Hello my loves, Toni here from TL Yarn Crafts and welcome to part 5 of the Frost and Bloom Crochet-along. Now the finish line of our cowl is so close I can taste it. This week brings us even closer and adds a unique twist to our Oralapgan. We've done a lot of stitching so far, so let's do a quick recap of what we've accomplished. At this point, we have explored all 10 of the hexagon designs that we're gonna add to our blanket. We started off steady with the solid and the striped hexes and then added on texture, color, and shaping throughout each of our weeks together. Right now, you should have 10 stacks of 8 hexagons each. Now, I know you are excited to get into today's lesson, but please take a moment to realize all that you've accomplished in just a few short weeks. You are a true crafty superstar and I could not be more proud of you. Now on to part 5 of our crochet along. This week, we are adding some motifs to our blanket that are truly the unsung heroes of this entire experience. First, we're gonna work on our half hexagons. Now these are gonna be added to the edges of our project, adding structure and symmetry to our round lapgan. They're super easy to do and you only have to make 6 of them. And lastly, we have our filler hexagons. Now I call them that because they fill in the gaps that are left behind by the motifs that we've already made. And once we have all of those spaces filled with beautiful stitches, we'll have a final cohesive blanket. Now that you've tested out all 10 of the different hexagon designs, you can shine a spotlight on some of your favorites. Pick your top 5 favorite hexagon patterns and show them a little extra love in your Oralapgan. Then we're gonna wrap up this section with some of my top tips for weaving in ends, and if you haven't done it already, now is the time, as well as a method for steam blocking your hexagons. This is crucial to the final look and size of your blanket, so please do not skip it. This week's milestone adds a lot of personality and sparkle to your final blanket to ensure that no 2 lapgans are exactly the same. Which got me to thinking, how do you like to add your personality to your crochet projects? Do you like to do it through color or technique? Do you have certain finishings that you like to do, or do you customize the fit of your pieces? Drop down in the comments and let me know how you like to make your crochet projects extra special. I'm so excited to hear more from you. This has been my favorite part of all of these videos. Now we've got a good bit of work ahead of us, so let's grab our hooks and get stitching on part 5 of the Frost and Bloom Crochet Along. Our next motif is going to be our half hexagons, and these will be what will help us create some straight edges on the sides of our blanket. Now our half hexagons are only made with our brown colors, so only with kind of these other neutrals, not your main color. That's just going to be for round 5, but the body, rounds 1, 2, 3, and 4 are going to be made with your browns. And make sure you keep an eye on the photograph inside the pattern so you know what combination of motifs to make. So let's get to it. I'm going to start with my lighter color here. And we're going to begin just as we've done before with a magic ring. So I'm going to lay that tail over my hand, wrap it around my first finger twice, bring that first wrap over the second wrap over the first, and pull. I'm going to flip that loop up until the knot is at the top, insert my hook, yarn over, and pull through. Now from here, I need to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and this does count as my first double crochet of the round. From here, I'm going to put 2 more double crochets into the ring, 1 and 2. Follow that with a chain 1, 2 more double crochets, 1 and 2. Follow that with a chain 1, and then 3 double crochets, 1, get that tail out of the way, 2, and 3. So at the end of this row, we should have 8 total double crochets. So we've got our chain 3 to start. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've got a chain here. We've got 3 doubles, a chain, 2 doubles, a chain, and then 3 doubles. I'll pull that tail out, pull, 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 that ring closed, and now we have row 1 of our half hexes. Now these are worked in turned rows, whereas before we were working in rounds that were not turned. So these are worked in turned rows. For our next row, we are going to turn. Moving on to row 2, we're gonna chain 3, 2, 3, and turn our work. So now we're gonna double crochet in the stitch at the base of the chain. So here's our chain here. The stitch at the base is right here. So in this first stitch, we'll place a double crochet. After that double crochet, we're going to double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So in this one, there's 1, and in the following, that's 2. Now we have our chain space here, and in this chain space, we're gonna double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet again, all in that space. From here, we're going to double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, 1 and 2, and we're back at a chain space. So in that space, we double, chain 2, and double again. After that, we're going to double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So there's 1 here and 1 here. So 1 double and 1 after that. Now we're at our turning chain. So it was that chain 1, 2, 3. We're going to put 2 doubles in the top of that turning chain. So I'm just shimmying into that top chain of that chain 3 one more time. If I count it from the bottom, I can see my back bumps here of my chain 1, 2, 3. So I'm going into this top chain here. So I'm just inserting my hook underneath that back bump to push through the chain. Yarn over, pull up the loop. There's 1 double, and then I'm going back into that same exact spot for my second double, just like that. And now I'm going to fasten off because I'm going to work this motif in 2 colors. But there are going to be some motifs that you work in 2 colors and some that you work in just 1 color. This one is going to be a 2-color motif, so I'm good to fasten off. And now we can move on to row 3. Here for row 3, I'm going to lift this loop up and out, turn my work, and I'm going to join with a standing double crochet. So leaving a little bit of a tail. I'll make my slip knot, insert, and I'm going to join with a standing double crochet in this first stitch. Just like that, and then put another double crochet into that same stitch. Now I'm going to double crochet in each stitch to the next chain 2 space. So here's a stitch here. There's 1, 2, 3, and 1 more makes 4. So that's 4 stitches between this chain space and this first double. So that first double, that first stitch got 2 doubles, and then I doubled 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 in each of the next 4 stitches there. So now I'm at my next chain space, and I'm going to double crochet, chain 2, double crochet again. Now I'm going to double in each stitch across to the next chain space. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And again, in this chain space, we're going to do a double, a chain 2, and another double. And now we're going to double crochet in each stitch across to that turning chain. So that's double crochet 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're at that turning chain, which is here. And in the top of that turning chain, I need to put 2 doubles. So if I count up my chains, 1, 2, 3, this is the top of my turning chain right here. So I need to put 2 doubles there. So I'm inserting my hook just under that back bump, using my fingers to coax my hook through that stitch, pull up that loop for 1 double, and get right back in there for your second. Fantastic. And that's how things look at this point. 3 rows down, 2 more to go. And let's get to row 4. Row 4 is going to feel a lot like row 3, but let's do it together. So we're going to start with a chain 3, and of course that counts as your first double crochet. Turn our work, and here at the stitch at the base of the chain, we're going to put another double crochet. Now we need to double crochet in each stitch across to this next chain 2 space. So here we go, and that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now in the chain 2 space, we're going to put a double, a chain 2, and another double. But I bet you already knew that. Now we're going to double crochet across to the next chain 2 space. We've got 1, here we go, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. One more there. There we go. And in that space, wouldn't you know it, it's going to be a double, a chain 2, and a double. And to finish things up, we need to double crochet in each stitch across to that first double crochet. So that's going to be another 6 double crochets. Here we go. There's 1, 2, 3, almost there, 4, 5, and 6. Ooh, extra tail. Now we're at that last stitch. For you, it might be a turning chain. For me, it's that standing double crochet that I did to change color. I'm going to put 2 double crochet into that final stitch. There's 1 and 2. And from here, I can fasten off this color because for row 5, we're just using our main color. So now we're all done with the colors in this, and that completes row 4. Let's move on to our 5th and final row. Row 5, here we come. I'm pulling this loop up and out, turning my work. Don't forget that part. Make sure you turn. And I'm going to join with a standing single crochet to begin row 5. So with my main color, I'm going to join in this last stitch here and put 1 more single crochet into that same stitch. 1 more goes in there. And then from here, we're going to single crochet 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to put 2 singles in the next stitch, 1 and 2, and then single 3, 1, 2, 3. Into this chain 2 space here, we're going to put a single, chain 2, and another single. Single, chain 2, and another single. Let's do that one more time. Single 4, 1, ooh, get back on there. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Increase, so 2 singles in this next stitch, 1 and 2. Single in the next 3, 1, 2, and 3. And in that space, we get a single, chain 2, and another single. Now on the side here, we're going to single in each of the next 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. 2 singles in the next stitch, 1 and 2. Single in each of the next 3, 1, 2, 3. That brings us to our turning chain here, and we're going to put 2 singles in the top of this turning chain. So if we count up from the bottom, I can see my back bumps. I have 1, 2, 3. I'm going to insert right underneath the back bump of that top stitch here and put 2 singles there. So there's 1 and 1 more makes 2, just like that. And now we can fasten off. So satisfying. And that is what our half hexagon looks like. We've got a few ends to weave in, but that's no problem. We're old pros at that. And now you are all done with your half hexagons. Now, just in case you were a little naughty and did not weave in your ends as you went like I recommended, that's okay. Let's walk through it together. So here are my recommendations for weaving in your ends. First off, you're going to want to get a bent tip tapestry needle. So I really like these because it makes it easier to work under your stitches as opposed to having a straight tapestry needle. And I also like to use a metal tapestry needle, again, for control, and it just makes it easier to get into and out of your stitches. And then my last recommendation is to make sure you weave your ends into a like color. So we want our blanket to look just as good from the back as it does from the front. So instead of taking this light green and putting it through my dark green stitches, I'm going to put it through light green stitches as well. And another recommendation is to go in a couple different directions. So I'm going to go up through these stitches first, and then I'm going to come down through these same stitches. I'm going to skip this very first loop though, and jump into that second loop and go down in the same direction, making sure I don't lose my tail, and pull through. So that's going to make sure that tail is secure, and we also don't need a lot of tail to accomplish that. I used to leave my tails incredibly long on my projects, and it's just not really necessary, especially for something like a motif project, something like this with wool and cotton in it, both of which are going to stick to each other. You don't need to go really far with your tails. But I understand the concern about tails coming out of your motif projects, because that's definitely been an issue for me as well. So I'm just going again under a few loops here in a like color and pulling that through. Once I'm done, I'm going to pull it nice and taut. And when I cut, I'm going to cut close to my fabric, but just be very careful that you don't actually cut the fabric, just close. Now the one end that we do need to be incredibly careful about is the one coming from the center, the one that is holding our magic ring. Because if our magic rings start to come out of our project, oh, you're going to be in a world of hurt, sweetheart. So I do leave a slightly longer tail there, but again, not anything crazy. And the first step I like to do is pull that tail nice and tight so the middle of that hexagon is closed. And then I like to make a knot. So I'm going to pull that tail towards me a bit, and I'm going to insert under the loop just to the side of it and pull through. Before I pull it all the way through though, I'm going to pass it through this loop. And that is going to give me a nice tight knot at the base of my tail. So it's just an extra layer of protection from that center coming loose. And then I kind of do like to do a bit of overkill here. I'm going to weave this through these center loops a few times. I could even kind of take it up the hexagon in this direction and weave it through a few loops this way. I'm going to kind of go underneath that light green and pass it through the other side. This is not wholly necessary. It's just I have a little PTSD from the centers coming out of a hexagon blanket that I made some time ago. So I'm just extra careful with those. So in that same way, you're going to weave in your main color into your main color stitches. You can just work along the base of these stitches here. I'm going to weave this green into its light green and do the same for these other hexagons. So weave in the ends of all of your motifs, and then we can move on to blocking. Let's talk blocking, right? And I know at this step, you're like, Toni, what do I need to block my hexagons for? They're all going into the same blanket. Can I just move on? Sure, you could, but I want you to think about blocking at this step like this. Think about it like marinating your food, right? When you put your food into a marinade, it absorbs all this extra flavor. And yeah, you could skip it because it adds time and it's a whole extra step. But by the end of the meal, you're like, oh, that was just the most delicious thing ever. Blocking at this stage is similar to that. You could skip this step, but one, you'll be able to tell. And two, by blocking right now, it's going to make all of your hexagons the same size. It's going to make them a uniform shape, and it's going to make it way easier to seam them together later. So I just recommend steam blocking at this point, really focusing on getting all of your hexagons to be the same size, which is just about 5 inches. So we are going to need a few supplies to go about blocking our hexagons. The first thing we're going to need is a garment steamer. So this is one that I just have in my stash. You can use a garment steamer, or if you just have a steam iron, you can use that as well. Just be incredibly careful that you don't touch the plate of your steamer or your steam iron to your actual hexagons, because there is a bit of acrylic in here and we don't want that to melt. So I'm going to go ahead and get this turned on and warming up while we do the rest of our work. In addition to your garment steamer, you're also going to need some blocking mats. So I really like these ones from Hobbii. They're really nice. Just keep in mind that the squares on here are not actual 1-inch squares. So when we put our hexagons down, we're also going to need a tape measure to make sure they turn out the right size. Then of course, we're going to need to attach our hexagons to the blocking mats. And I have a couple different ways we can do that. One option is with these metal T-pins. So these are just rust-proof pins that we can use to press into our hexagons and press into the foam of the blocking mats. I like these because they're really good for accuracy and for really defining the crispy corners that we want to try and achieve. In addition to my rust-proof T-pins, I'm also planning to use these here, which are knit blockers. So these you can think of like T-pins, but instead of having one pin to place at a time, we have 4 here or 8 here. And that's nice for when we're working along these broad sides to make sure, again, they are the correct size. So let's get things going first by laying down our blocking mats. After a lot of pinning and stretching, I have as many motifs as I'm going to put on just these couple of blocking boards. And now my garment steamer is all warmed up and we can go about the actual blocking process. I know mine is hot because all of my red lights are on, but yours might show up a little bit differently. Now, when I'm blocking these, I want to do light steam evenly until these are all a little bit damp. I don't want to spend too much time in a certain spot and stretch out some hexagons more than others. I want to make sure they're all steamed really evenly. So here's a quick peek at how I do it. And now all of my hexagons are slightly damp to the touch. So I'm gonna leave them be, don't move them, don't pull out any pins, don't touch them until they are completely dry. What I like to do is put them in a room with a ceiling fan if you have one, or crack a window, box fan, whatever you got, just to get the air circulating. And that's gonna help to evaporate all the water out, but then we're still left with this beautifully sized hexagon. So because we've got the wool, we've got the cotton, we've got the acrylic in there, all of this is going to stay exactly where we placed it, and it's going to give us this nice airiness and this flexibility in our motifs, making it easier to assemble them later and much easier to get the final size that we're looking for. So leave these be, let them completely dry. I would say check them in about 30 minutes to an hour, and let's see where we are from there. I let these sit for about 20 minutes and they're feeling completely dry to the touch. So it really doesn't take very long. But what I really want you to see is when we take these pins out, what happens to these motifs. So I really wanted to show you this one specifically. So this motif, let me see if I have another one. So this motif looked like this before, right? All of that lace was very closed, and you can see when we block this, it gets nice and open. But once you steam it like this, and I go to take the pins out, look at all that laciness that we've now achieved. Not only is it bigger, but it's opened up all of that work that we did. So it's nice and open and looks a lot more like a big lacy snowflake as opposed to this, which is fine. But I mean, come on, we're trying to make an heirloom blanket here. So take the time, block your motifs, and then we move on to placement and assembly. Can you believe that we just wrapped up part 5 of our 6-part crochet along? You have come so far in just a few weeks. Personally, I can't wait to see you cuddled under your Aura Lapgan very soon. And while you're stitching with us, be sure to share your progress. Over on Instagram, you can tag at @TLYarnCrafts and at Hobbii_yarn on all of your posts and stories. And don't forget to use hashtag #FrostandBloomCal every single time. I love seeing the fun variations on your motifs from week to week, so keep those posts coming. The sixth and final part of our cowl drops next week. This is our chance to use some strategic placement, assembly, and adding the border to bring it all together. We've been stitching for 5 straight weeks to get to this point, so let's finish strong. And to sweeten the pot, Hobbii and I have a giveaway announcement, but I'm gonna share that next week. Until then, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye!